Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm a freelance illustrator and art instructor living and working in Huntsville, Alabama. In partnership with North Alabama Arts Education Collaborative, I'm bringing you a series of videos all about the elements of art. So come join us for our next project. Our second lesson is going to be about shape. In our last video about line, I mentioned that many lines put together make up shapes. Shape is the second element of art, and shapes, they make up everything that we see. Let's see now if we can name some of those basic shapes. First, we have a circle. And of course, there's an oval. And a rectangle. And where there's a rectangle, there's a square. Then we have a trapezoid. And a rhombus. A lot of times we also think of this shape as a diamond. And a pentagon. What shape do you see in a pentagon? I see a house. Then we have a hexagon. Oh, this one's an octagon. Now let's draw a hexagon. A hexagon has 6 sides, whereas an octagon has 8 sides. There's our hexagon, our 6-sided shape. And then we would have moved on to an octagon, which is an 8-sided shape. Where do you think you've seen an octagon before? I bet you've seen one in a stop sign. These are all known as geometric shapes. And you'll notice that the shapes, they get harder to draw the more sides that they have. But remember, practice is important. That's why we sit here and we draw our shapes on our paper. These last two shapes here, the 6-sided shape and the 8-sided shape, we see less in nature. We tend to find these shapes here more in our natural surroundings, and these shapes tend to be more man-made. Now let's take a look at this image. What shapes do you see here? I'll give you a few seconds just to go over it, and then we'll go over the shapes together. All right, here are the shapes that I see. I see a trapezoid. I see another trapezoid. I see a rectangle. I see more rectangles along the glass. I see a triangle. I see one really big triangle down here at the bottom. And I see another rectangle. How many shapes did you guys find? Alright, it's time to move on to our project. See, there are shapes in everything that we see. I encourage you to look around your room and see what you can find that makes different shapes. Maybe there's something on your bed or your shoes or your toys. What basic shapes are you seeing in your bedroom? Leave us a comment and let us know. The supplies that we need for our project you more than likely have around the house. So you can use pretty much anything that you have. But if you don't have any of these particular items, you can always get them at a local convenience store. What I'm going to be using today is a pair of safety scissors. We're going to use glue sticks, our handy number 2 pencil, and construction paper. If you don't have construction paper, you can always use computer paper to cut out your shapes, and you can color the individual shapes whatever colors that you choose. With that being said, that means we can use all different kinds of coloring materials, whatever it is that you have. We have crayons, we have colored pencils, and we have markers. I'll be using a combination of these to create the shapes that we need, and I'll cut them out of the construction paper to create and put together the shapes for our robots. So go ahead and gather your supplies and we'll get started. Now for our project. I've got multiple colors of construction paper here. All the different colors that I want to see in my robot. What I'm going to do is, using a ruler and a marker, I'm going to draw out some shapes onto my paper. That way I can cut them out and glue them together to make my robot. So I want you to really think about what shapes you want to see in your robot and make them big. We're going to glue them all onto one sheet of paper together. What I'm going to do here is make his body. A ruler is going to help me because it's going to give me straight lines to cut with. And remember, we're working with geometric shapes, and geometric shapes have very straight lines. So I'm going to have his body be green, and I'm going to set this paper aside. Then maybe I want his head and his legs to be orange. Alright, I'm going to set this paper aside. Now let's make his arms and his feet. Maybe I want them to be pink. Now to draw something round, you can use just a round object. I happen to have a circle template, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. But you can just use any round object that you have, and you can use that to trace your circle. Just to give you an example, what I'll do is I'll take the glue stick that we're going to be using, and I'm going to use the cap to trace a circle around it. And that gives me a circular shape that I can cut out. And I'm going to set this to the side. Maybe I also want him to have eyes, a nose, and a mouth. Now these are going to be smaller shapes because they have to fit on top of the shape that we made for the face, or for the head. So we'll make the shape for our mouth. I'm going to go back. I'm going to use my circle template, like I said, just because I have it, but you can also draw these using a different shape to trace, or if you need to, you can always freehand them too. So now I'm going to make some shapes for some eyes. And maybe I want him to have a bigger nose. Now notice I'm drawing all these shapes first. That way I can gauge how big they are. And then I'm going to cut them all out here in a minute using my safety scissors. We also have buttons, maybe buttons going down his shirt. So I'm going to use a much smaller circle for the buttons. And I'm going to make them all different sizes, and we'll put them going down our robot's shirt. But eyes, they can't just be black, can they? I'm going to make some little tiny triangles to put for the robot's irises. That nice colorful spot on our eyes. Notice our shapes, they're getting smaller and smaller as we go. Now I'm going to set that to the side. Alright, it's time to start cutting out our shapes. To cut out our shapes, you're going to need safety scissors. Now, it's important that you use safety scissors so that you're being safe with them. But you can also get a parent or guardian or an adult to help you cut these. So let's start with our largest shapes first. Let's go ahead and cut these out. And let's set aside our scrap paper. We might use it later. So now we have our body. We said this was going to be our head and our feet. Getting some legs. There we go. It's starting to look a little bit more like a robot. But we did say that we want to glue him onto one single sheet of paper. So whatever piece of construction paper you choose, we're going to glue our robot onto. And feel free when you're done. You can go ahead, you can draw him a background, you could create some more designs on him. So let's go ahead and get this project finished. Okay everyone, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed your project. Be sure to check back for more videos on the elements of art.